everyone, today we got to play Tribes of the Wind. So this is a card drafting, resource management, some tile placement going on type of game. But before we get into it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell because board games are amazing, and that's what we do here at Legends of Nirvana. Now, Randy, can you tell us a little bit more about Tribes of the Wind?
I can. This is a 2022 release, although here in the U.S., I believe it just hit retail this year because I know it. I picked it up as soon as it came out. It has a Board Game Geek rating of 7.5 and a Board Game Geek rank of 2611. It's a 2 to 5 player game. Average length, it says on Board Game Geek 40 to 90 minutes, but on the box it says 20 minutes per player, so it fluctuates depending on player count. The age is 14 and up. That's mostly because of iconography. There's no content that would require it.
Oh, yeah. No. It's just, you know, understanding iconography.
Yeah, there's a lot of iconography. Designed by, and I'm sure I'm mispronouncing these names, Joachim Thome. Art is by Vincent Dutrait, and it's published by La Boîte de Jeux. MSRP on this is $49.99. Card House and Miniature Market both have it at MSRP for $49.99. The cheapest price I see is Cool Stuff Inc., which is pre-ordered right now. It's not actually in stock. $37.49. The second cheapest also is out of stock, is Watchtower for $37.99. The only one I saw that actually was cheaper and in stock was $38.99 at Boardlandia. So it's not one we typically use, but Boardlandia looks like the best price to get this one.
So let's talk about quality of components for a second. So you do get a lot of cardboard chits. The water tokens as well as the cloud tokens are cardboard. Pretty good. I mean, they're thick. They're okay. And then they do have some wooden specialized little tokens. You've got this angel-like looking spirit. You also have this temple here, and then you also have these tree houses, which are beautiful, actually.
Yeah, they're actually supposed to be cities built in the trees.
Yeah, they look actually pretty awesome. These actually look pretty cool. And then the tiles themselves don't have a linen. Well, they have maybe a light one, but not really. It's cardboard tiles once again. And then your card quality, there is no linen finish. It's more of a glossy type of card, but the thickness is good.
Thickness is good. Matter of fact, right now they're super hard to shuffle because they're so tight and
which means that they'll last a little bit. So overall, I'm actually really, I'm okay with it. Now I will say we did end up using upgraded water tokens that we got not from
Top Shelf Gamer.
From Top Shelf Gamer, which were pretty cool. So if you do want to upgrade this game, that might be something to look at specifically. But given what comes with the game, I'm going to give it 7.5. I really like the little town cities, or the little tree cities. And I think that's really cool. And I think there are some unique components in here that kind of elevate this up. What are your thoughts?
I'm probably at a 7. I mean, apart from the wooden bits, I'm not super impressed with any of it. I mean, the cards are okay. The tiles are okay. The boards, again, okay. The one thing I don't understand is they made them dual-sided, but I don't see any difference between the two sides. It seems like a wasted opportunity. The board itself is dual-sided, but they look like they're identical on both sides. So,
even the...
Yeah, everything's the same.
Okay.
So it seems like they had missed an opportunity to make it where you had...
Yeah, because they could have just changed this here and made it a little bit better.
Or the distribution of these bonuses. I mean,
okay.
But it's all the same. You do get these little racks for storing your cards, which work pretty well. The cards kind of sometimes tip over, but not bad.
But I think it's pretty good. So
yeah, I'll probably get a 7.
Okay. All right. So now let's talk about the theme. So the theme is that you were trying to use the different elements to really grow your city and fight off pollution.
Yeah. Well, the thing is the world has become over polluted, so people have moved into the trees to escape all the pollution on the ground, and you see the civilization remnants of like nuclear facilities broken down, planes crashed, and things that are on the ground covered in ash, and you're building your civilization on top of it.
Yeah. So one thing is, loved the art for this. I thought the art was very happy, very light. But I enjoyed the art. I thought it was very, I don't know, it made me feel very bright. Is one way to describe it, I guess, for me. And that, you can kind of get that into the gameplay, using the elements to try to build this civilization as you're placing tiles and, removing pollution so you can move forward. So overall, theme-wise, I'll probably give it a 7.
Well, I thought it was clever is they tied in the actions with the colors of the elements.
Right.
So all of your clouds, you burned away the pollution with the red cards. You typically played tiles with the green. You did your movement of your little meeples with the yellow, which the meeples are yellow. And then the water, which is blue, is what typically you get from the blue cards. So it made sense. It's not always 100% that way, but as a general rule, if you take a blue card, you're more likely to get water than if you took a green card or a red card. So I thought that was clever. The art's fine. There is a lot of duplicates within the cards, but there's not all the same. So if you get a blue card, you don't always have the same art, but there are a lot of duplicates of it. It would be nice if there was a little more unique art, but there's still multiple. So it's not all, redundant. So I think, and most of it's iconography, honestly, beyond the, just the background art, it's mostly iconography. And the iconography actually does make pretty good sense. I mean, once you get past the initial shock of all the icons, it actually makes a lot of sense. So it is easily understood.
So theme-wise,
so I'll probably give it a 7.5.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. So now let's move on to the rule book. So Randy, what did you think about the rule book?
So the rule book is 12 pages long.
It doesn't have a cover page.
No cover. Goes straight into the contents though, and they do have those pictured nicely. It's very simple to set this up. They've got game set up and player board set up, very clear. They've got the picture showing it where everything goes very nicely. The how to play section, there's really only 3 actions you take, so it's a very simple game to learn. There's not a lot of confusion that you could have, just the iconography is really where things get confusing. But they did a nice job of showing, I don't think there was ever a situation we ran into an icon, we didn't find the scenario in here, or you could interpret it from another similar scenario. So, why it may be pertaining to the fire cards instead of the water icons, you could still deduce exactly what it meant because it gives you a text description of what it means for that. So it's just change the icon. So I think they did an outstanding job of teaching this. There's a 2-player section at the back teaching you what the variant is if you're playing with 2. Honestly, I don't think this would work well as a 2-player game. I think it's better for a 3 or more. And then that's really all. The rest of it's iconography, so it really teaches you the gameplay up to page 8. It's a quick learn. I'm probably going to give this a 9. I think they've done an outstanding job. I just wish I had covered.
Now let's move on to the actual gameplay. Like Randy said, there are 3 different actions. So at the beginning of the game, you are going to have 5 cards in front of you, as well as at the time only 1 tile in place with a lot of pollution on your board. So one of the actions that you could do, and most of the time this will be your action, is to play a card that you have in your hand. I do like the fact that they did set it up so you can see your cards and kind of choose as well, because it's also important to understand what's next to you when triggering some of these cards. Now, so if I were to take this card here, now this card says if you don't have a water in your hand, then you get to trigger this ability. Okay, so that's one example of a card. This other example is if the players to your right and left also have a green card, you get this ability. If only one player has a green card on your right or left, you get this ability. So again, like Randy said, once you kind of understand the iconography, it's pretty straightforward. So you're going to play a card. So in this case, let's say I don't have any water in my hand. I'm going to get this. I'm going to be able to either gain 5 water, right, which is just resource collection, or I can spend 4 water and get a tile. So I'm going to take this tile here. I'm going to spend water that somehow disappeared off my board. And then I'm going to place it adjacent to another of my tiles. okay, that is cleared of pollution. All right, so the other thing that you can do when you can play is movement of your spirit. So if they land, they have to land either on your flag space or a completed tile that has a particular icon on that. There's a couple different icons on the tile that once you complete them, they have abilities, and you can look those up. But when you finally get your spirits on there and you fill it, another action you can take is actually completing the city. So I'm going to take my spirits off. I'm going to flip over the tile. I'm going to place my tree-like city on the tile, and then these get bumped back to the original flag. Then after you move your little tokens back over to the corner, you're going to get the chance or the opportunity to take one of these star exclamation points. Now, there's two things. You have two options. Basically, you have a victory point condition over here that you can, if you so choose, slide it on this side of the board. And if you meet that condition, you will get those victory points at the end of the game. Or you can take immediate benefit. Now, you have 5 cities and 4 slots. However, one you get for free at the beginning of the game. So there is kind of, you can still get all your victory points and discard 2 of these if you so choose. So just kind of being aware of that maybe at the beginning it might be worth discarding if you don't really love the victory point condition to grab the immediate benefit. Now, so that's another action. Now there is another side thing over here. You do get variable player powers, but you have to meet certain conditions first. And each player board has a different set condition, but they basically allow, player powers.
Yeah. You have a hand of 4 cards to choose from, but you'll only be able to play 2 during the course of the game.
Which I think makes the game very, very unique, and I appreciate that. And then the last, once you play a card, you do automatically replenish, but you get your choice, right? And as Randy mentioned before, you kind of know what you're getting based on the color, but not really, right? So you don't know what's actually going to be on the card. Now, there's one other thing, the third action. Now, you may end up in a spot where you can't play any of your cards. That may have happened to someone.
Yeah, on my opening cards, I had no way I could play any.
I could only play one. And there's several instances where, like, Dad could only play one card just because of the way things had worked out. But luckily, they put in a mechanism that helps do that. So you can discard 3 of your cards, any of them that you choose, and you get to place one of the temples onto a tile. Again, tile, not a space. And then you get the associated bonus when you place it. They're also worth victory points at the end of the game. So I like the fact that even though it's kind of a last-ditch effort, if you will, but it's still worth points. And there may be a point where you still want to do it.
Oddly, this is one of those cases where I think they gave you points where they should have taken away points. Because you get the perk of doing it. It seems to me like if you don't have to do it, it's going to be more difficult than doing it. So I would have actually given points, if I were designing it, I would have given the points for not playing the houses.
Yeah, but you have too many of the criteria
that required them.
Yeah, and so I don't think that would have been good if they were part of the requirements, and they did do that. And I'm fine with it.
I mean, it takes a turn to do it, so there is a penalty, if you will, for doing it. But it just seems like it's more difficult to make it through the game without playing the purple buildings.
Well, for you, I didn't play 2. Dad didn't play 3
of them. I went out of my way
to
play them because it was worth points at the end, so that's why I played all mine.
Right. But again, that's just I'm glad you don't end up getting stuck. I'm glad they put a mechanism in to make sure that you don't get stuck.
And you always have the option of discarding 3 cards, even if you've played all your, what I call birdhouses, but they're actually the temples. If you played all the temples, you can still discard 3 cards and just don't get a temple.
Yeah. So I think that's very, very helpful. So that's basically essentially the game. The game ends when one of the players play all of their tree houses. And then everyone you finish the round and do one more round, and then that's the end of the game. I actually really enjoyed this because it's actually really unique. Because there's a couple of things I liked. I like the fact during the drafting, you don't actually see the card, but you kind of see the color, so you kind of get an idea of what you're doing with, as well as the mechanism of what is not only in your hand, but other people's hand. It's that interaction without actually interacting, and I kind of really liked that quite a bit. I also, again, love the tile placement, love the variable victory point conditions that you can pick up over the course of the game. And I really wish I would have played the variable player powers really super earlier than I thought. You know, there's one that took me a while and I was trying for, but there was another one I could have gotten way earlier, and I wish I would have done that.
Well, I like that they made a condition being that the pattern of the tiles you play on the board, you make a sequence of certain colors, and I thought that was clever. You can't use the same tile for multiple tiles in your pattern, but you have to basically trace a line with your finger and be able to make the 5 tile sequence that they have.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really cool idea.
No, I think there's a lot of unique aspects, and the way they put it together, it actually plays really, really well. When I think, because a lot of games you could be like, well, it's kind of like this, or you're kind of like that. I really can't think of a game that it's kind of like. I think there's a lot of uniqueness to it that I actually really, really enjoyed for this game. I'm actually going to give it maybe an 8.5. I think I'm going to go with 8.5. I know I really, really liked it, and it's so unique. Like I said, I can't compare it to another game. This is one that I feel like you almost have to have in your collection because of its unique quality.
Well, I knew you would like it. I like it too, but I don't like it quite as much as you. And the reason I think it's going to have less lasting potential is it feels like the scoring of this is going to be very little variance from player to player. Because basically, you're going to score your 5 city buildings. Most likely, once you get the hang of the game, you're always going to get 5 buildings down. If you don't, it's going to be 4. You're going to get almost all of them down. Because if you see somebody rushing the game, you're going to rush to get them. And it's not like it's that hard to do. The bonuses, as long as you stay consistently getting all your bonus cards, they're not that hard to achieve either. You're going to see some fluctuation because some are worth 8 points, some are worth 11. You've got some variance there, but all in all, the scores are going to be pretty minimal difference. And if everybody gets rid of their clouds, I mean, there's just the scoring. There's not a lot of variance. I mean, even the game we played, we all got rid of all of our clouds. But
you beat me by
the end game, and whoever triggers the end of the game gets 5 bonus points. So I had that, and you played 1 less city. Mm-hmm. So those are really the big differences.
And these.
And those, yeah. But, I mean, once you get the hang of the game, it's not going to be hard to stay up with everybody else. And once you stay up with everybody else, there's not a lot of differences in scoring.
Well, I mean,
So that's what
I don't know. I just think it has a very, very unique feel to it. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the reasons why I like it. It feels unique.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it's the same. And I like the interaction because a lot of times I'm like, I just want to build my thing. But this way I get to interact without you coming to destroy my crap. So.
I mean, I still enjoy the game. I'm going to probably give it more like a 7.5. I don't think it's a bad game. I think it's a good game. My concern is, will it have lasting power? The playability is fine. I think it's whether it's going to have lasting ability, just lasting playthroughs on my table. And I think,
to be fair, we only play games like once or twice.
That's because we get through 3,000 games to review. Yeah, I don't think that there's, my concern is the scoring variance is just so low. And, maybe expansion will come out and change that. That's possible. But right now, the scoring at the bottom of the board that tells you, and I like that they put the scoring right there so you can look at it and see what it is. But it's very small differences. So you're going to have very tight scores in general. That's good and bad. If you like a tight game, that's good. I like to have games where you can actually lead. The other thing is, I don't think if you start getting ahead of everybody else on building your cities, odds are you're going to end the game before they can catch up. There's no good catch-up mechanism as far as building a whole lot. If you got a good pattern going and you can build your cities, yes, you've got to move your pieces into the right positions and such. But it's not that hard to do that, especially since they give you the ability to come in at certain locations on some of the tiles. You get the slingshot ability, which lets you propel one of your pieces to another tile so you can use it again. So there's a lot of ways to trigger, especially those two section ones. It's like you just have to have two of your meeples on there and flip it. So you can get a lot of tiles.
But a lot of those have cloud, the pollution.
Well, you only get one icon. So yeah, it's either there's only 3 different icons on them, so it's either going to produce clouds, or it's going to, if you get one of those other ones, or you only get the one that doesn't produce clouds and you get no other perk. But yes, there's limitations for getting the quick tiles, but the advantage is you get the cities down, and the tiles don't have any inherent value between a 2 and a 4. So
yeah, I think that would be an interesting change with an expansion, is making, if it's got 4, you add, you know what I mean? Like if I think that would make more interesting development, is if instead of just having the cities a base 3 points, it's based on the number of guys that you had on there.
Yeah, I just think there's more opportunities that could have been put into the game to score. And I like to have lots of scoring options.
Mm-hmm. No, that's and I understand what you're saying. I kind of don't agree because I love this game.
Well, 7.5 is a good score. You gave it an 8.5. We're not that.
Yeah, we're not that far apart. But I enjoyed it. Well, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. Hopefully, you'll come hang out with us again. We'll catch you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.